Hey friends, welcome in. My name is Autumn, and today I am going to be reading through my cozy fantasy story. I printed out and I'm beginning to read the first draft of this cozy fantasy called Project Traveling Bards. I have made it to chapter 6. It's page 38. I forgot how goofy I think the one-liners I have in here are kind of goofy and silly, but it's my humor. So I'm like, of course, I'm gonna find it funny. It has potential. I am actually really shocked with this first draft. In one of my last videos, when I was talking about printing off this draft, my original game plan was to do an initial read through of this and not do too many edits actually inside the draft. I was going to take notes either in my notebook or on my phone. And I'll be honest, I have decided to not really do that. The original plan was on the second read through, I was going to start making notes in here. I'm not entirely doing it that way right now. If I see things that are plot holes, if I'm like, I don't think I quite like this, I'm making notes. And this is my initial read through. And the only reason I want to do that is because I do want to get my initial reactions of reading this story after not touching it for so long. So far though, I do like it. I mean, it needs work. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's definitely not published ready, but it's okay for a first draft that I wrote 3 years ago. As of right now, I'm 38 pages in. It's not gonna need a full rewrite. I think I'm going to need to add a little bit more into the beginning and maybe change some things around. There was one part in here where I threw in a flashback, and I just wanna say I confused the hell out of myself. So I did not do well with going from present day to this important flashback. I need to redo that because when we came back to current day, I was like, wait, what did we just do? That was very confusing. I did take a note on that. Yeah, I took notes. You can see them like right here where my thumb is. I was like, what? Delete? Question mark, question mark, question mark? I read a little bit more and I realized that that was a flashback and now we're back in present day. So I was like, oh, okay, I got it now, but I'm going to need to be more clear because I confused myself. We definitely don't want to confuse the reader, and if I'm confusing myself, I'm definitely going to confuse the reader. My original plan for this was to spend the entire month of July going through and reading this, but if I've already read 38 pages, I don't think it's going to take me a full month to read this, but I do think it's going to take me an entire month to read through this story and make notes and figure out what I want to add, what I want to take away. I can see where I'm starting to hint. I almost said foreshadow. It is foreshadowing. I can see where I'm starting to hint at certain things here in the first almost 40 pages out of 175. I'm hoping I can at least circle back to what those topics are. I read you guys the first, I think it was like the first paragraph or first few sentences of the prologue and then of chapter 1. I am going to rework those, like rewrite those. I need to add a little bit more and take out some stuff for those first 2 chapters. I really love how I did introduce this story. I feel like immediately you know it's going to be a cozy fantasy with magic, like with a witch, with some interesting lore. That's where I'm at so far. I will give you guys an update probably in a few days when I read a bit more of this story. I don't know if I completely thought stapling the whole thing through, if I thought that through well enough, because it is a little annoying when I flip the page. But honestly, I don't care. It's fine. You know, there are bigger things in life to be worrying about. But thank you for being here today, and I hope that you enjoy the video. I have an update. I have read 60 pages of Project Traveling Bards. And I want to say I haven't DNF'd it. She's not perfect. That's not what I'm saying. I am just saying that I am proud of this, but by golly, does she need work. In one of my previous videos, I gave a loose game plan of I wanted to go through the story on the initial read through and not go through, like not really take notes, just read the story as is. I'll be honest, I haven't really been doing that because there are some things that are coming up in the moment, I want to address them or at least put some notes down. So when I do my second read through, I can see if maybe I picked them up a second time, or maybe, you know, further on into the story, I was able to circle back to whatever that topic was. Maybe I didn't, you know, and then that is where I've already marked it. So I'll know I need to expand on it later. I've made some notes you can see at the bottom of these 2 pages, and I thought I was going to color code, but I've really just been doing it all in black. There might be a few in red ink. I thought I did some in red. Yeah. And the red was just because that was the only color I had in front of me. Like, it was the first one I grabbed. So we just started writing in that color. Now I switched to black. I don't really have too much to say. I haven't gotten to the part where I know I was telling you guys about halfway through is where I feel like it kind of falls off. Some of those things that I built up in the first half don't really get answered. And that's just information that I just kind of remember when I reflected on writing this story. There are some things I want to expand on. I think I need to describe the world a little bit more. I know the world. And when I did this first draft, I didn't include a lot of the world building. I'm going to need to, so, you know, my readers know what kind of world they're in. But I feel like we've gotten a good taste for who the characters are. I have a few characters in here where I need to work on them because they're not very clear as to who they're supposed to be in the story. And they've done like one thing and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I like that because that's how I introduced the character. That was what I was going for. And then they did something a little different and out of character. And I'm like, I need to work through that. Maybe I need to have another character do what that person did. I have to work through and change that scene. So a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things to think about, to work on. There are 2 more side characters who are part of the story. I really like these 2 characters. I think they complement our 2 main characters really well, but they need more work. I need to check on the lore that I have in the story, in the world, and there are some things that I need to fine tune. I need to think about the witch too and how much of a role I want her to play. We are 60 pages in and we've had the witch visit them, which she was like a mother figure to our characters. I'm trying to figure out how I want that dynamic. I'm gonna keep reading. We're not gonna make any changes. Nothing I feel like has to be rewritten. It doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, this is all completely garbage. It needs to be tossed. It has potential and I do think eventually it'll all get rewritten. I can't imagine when I go in to make edits for this that I'm going to be doing them more at like a line level, trying to beef up each individual sentence and paragraph and things like that. I'm not too worried about that. I'm just trying to get the story itself to make sense and then I can work on making it better. I plan on doing some more reading of this today. It's a little bit later in the evening. Oh, this is not a writing update. I did some retail shopping today. It was marvelous. I don't remember the last time I went shopping for myself in the store shopping. It was very, very nice to just go in the store to try on some clothes. So those are all the updates for now. I will keep working on this. Hopefully I can make a little bit more progress today. I actually work tomorrow and this is exciting too. Tomorrow is my last day at the hospital. It's my official last day. I will be doing no more hospital work, which is bittersweet, but it's been a long time coming. I've been doing what I've been doing for 8 years. It's time to fly. It's time to move on and do other things with life. The day after is Thursday. I have a few things lined up. I have a yoga class. I have to take my dad to a doctor's appointment. I will have in between and afterwards to work on my stories. It is time for an update. I'm still working through the first draft for Project Traveling Bards. I am on page 86. I am going to start chapter 15. I want to be perfectly clear and say that I don't think that this is magnificent. It's a first draft. It needs work, but I'm just proud of it. With me saying that, I've laughed a few times. I want to see if I can find it again. Typos are so funny and they can literally change the entire meaning of a story. I was reading through, I stumbled across this one typo, here it is, and I laughed about it for 20 minutes. I'm gonna read you the sentence of how I wrote it, and you're gonna be able to figure out what I meant. Blue wasn't sure if Iago was raising his eyebrows in question to passing the bread or being opposed to sleeping next to him. Eyebrows. I could not with myself. I underlined it and wrote LOL. Is that not the funniest thing? I'm actually halfway. The first draft has 175 pages and, I just divided it by 2 for half. Halfway through is 87.5 and I'm at page 86. I'm halfway through the story. The halfway point, I need a lot more to be revealed. I have been taking notes. If sentences need to be taken out, I'll be honest, I have been just crossing them out because I don't need them or they're redundant. I know that's not what the point of this read through is. I'm just trying to help myself out for the future. So when I'm looking over this draft a second, third, 8th time, it's not like I'm seeing it for the first time. I've been enjoying the reread. Do I think this draft is perfect? Absolutely not. Do I think it's marvelous? Absolutely not. Do I think it has potential? Yes, it has potential if it's given the right TLC. I'm going to keep reading along, giving you guys updates along the way. I really like how I've done with the characters. I think I just need to add a little bit more for each of the characters. The reader better understands them because I understand them, but I don't think the descriptions of my characters and their actions are what I want them to be. Also with the plot, with the story, I think I'm doing decent. I think with some of the subplots that I have been well enough. I want to just make sure that the subplots carry through the story and they're all tied up. I will update you guys when I have more to say, when we make it through the story a little bit more. I have updates for the Cozy Fantasy vlog. I'm not finished. This has actually taken me longer than I thought. I had an original plan where I thought it was going to take me a month. And then once I started it, I was like, oh, this will only take me a few days. Well, it's been maybe 10 to 12 days and I'm still reading the draft. I'm at page 136 out of 175. So what is that? I have like 40 pages left. I will be starting chapter 21. This is not the first time I've noticed this with my writing. I have a terrible habit of jumping between tenses, and it's very prominent in this draft. It's something I know about myself, know about my writing. I did it in grad school and it took me so long to work out that habit, and I'm doing it here. And it's extremely frustrating. I mean, yes, it's frustrating to read, but I'm more frustrated with myself where I know that this is a problem. And I just wish I'm more intentional with my writing. And that's something I really need to work on. This has now created, issues for the rewrites. And I've caught myself doing it a few times working on my high fantasy story. I'm writing the second draft of that. I notice it sometimes and I'm trying to be more cautious and conscious of how I'm writing. It's something I know about myself. It's an issue I've known for quite some time. It's prominent, it's there, it's an issue. So I'm going to have to deal with that. Can't keep doing that to myself. I think in a previous update, I talked to y'all about funny one-liners, sentences that are poorly structured, or words were missing, or I said the wrong word and I couldn't quite remember what I was talking about. That's still a thing, but it's a first draft, so it's just funny. I mark it and I move on. There's a plot hole. I mean, I know that there will be several plot holes, but one plot hole that I need to think about, I think even before I start the next draft of this, at the very beginning, I established some type of plot line about who gets magic, who can possess magic, and how it's transferred into the world or among people. And that is something I've noticed throughout this draft I do not stick to. So that's a plot hole. That's something really major that I need to work through. There was also something with the magic system, again, that I need to work through. There was something about a protection spell on some type of object that someone put on this object. I wrote in here that enchantment spell was taken off by somebody else, but I didn't explain that very well, and it was very much a plot convenience with that happening. So I need to work through that scene, that plot line, and the magic system. What are the constraints of this magic system? Who can do what and why? Does it make sense? There's several things in here where I have got to work through the logistics of these things happening. There's a time jump through the summer because the story, it starts in the fall, but it starts in the spring, but I want it to end at the end of summer, early fall. That's over 4 to 6 months worth of time. Let me see. Oh yeah. And there was another plot hole that I wrote in here. The group of bards can't split up, and there's some type of magical charm. They have to stay together for some reason. I wrote a scene in here that had them splitting up. Okay, well, they can't split up because of some type of magical whatever. That scene has to be taken out and has to be rewritten. Or maybe I have to think about, well, did something happen that caused this magical bond to break? And if it did, why did that happen? Who caused that? Is that something that was a spell the whole time? You know, I've got to work through that. I've mentioned this in a few vlogs where there was a certain plot line where the story took more of a darker turn than I wanted. I've been trying to pitch this as something that's fun, cozy, whimsical, and there was a scene in here that got really dark, very not what I was going for. I need to work through that. I think I can keep a similar plot line, but the way I had it going, this character was brutally murdered. And yes, the story is about a group of traveling bards who are mercenaries. So yes, that's something that could and does happen, but I don't think I want that to happen to this character that it happened to. Something that I am pleased with myself with this story. I just got done bashing myself and bashing my writing. One thing I am very pleased with myself with this story, that I don't have a bajillion characters in here. Past me, if I needed a character and I didn't have one established, I'd just throw somebody in there. I don't have a lot of throwaway characters. I don't have a lot of characters that could probably be combined and be one person. I have a limited cast in here, which is great. Good job, Autumn. You did one thing right. And then, well, the second thing, not everything in here is going to have to be rewritten. By the time I get to the 5th, the 6th draft or the 20th draft, it will all eventually at some point be rewritten because there's a lot of line things and the way I say certain lines where I'm like, okay, this could be said in way less words. This could be said in a much more whimsical way. We're not worried about that right now. We are worried about developmental content things, and the line edits will come later. But my point being, the next draft, there are only going to be certain parts that I'm going to be rewriting. So there's going to be copy and pasting with the scenes that make the cut for the second draft. But eventually, it is all going to get rewritten. So I'm going to keep reading. Like I said, I am starting chapter 21. I'm going to work through that. I probably won't give another update until I finish 40-ish pages left before I come back with my final thoughts, and we'll talk a little bit more once I get to that point. Finished reading through Project Traveling Bards. I stand by 100% what I said in my previous video, and there was one other video that I posted on my channel where I talked about what I learned from writing a cozy fantasy and what I did wrong. I'm agreeing with that, and I can't remember which video I had actually said what I'm gonna kind of like talk about again. I do enjoy it, but the ending needs to be redone. I have so much potential at the beginning of this story. There's a lot to work with. I open up a lot of doors, a lot of interesting themes, interesting characters, concepts, plot, I think. But the way I end it is absolutely not. No, it's also not what I want for this story. I had said in the past that from the midpoint on, it needs work. Really? I don't even think it's like exactly halfway. I think I'm fine until the last few chapters. I really rush the ending, and the thing is it doesn't really end. Like whatever they're working up to, whatever we're building towards, I don't necessarily wrap that up. I like wrap up everything else, and then that main plot is just still kind of floating around out there. What are we doing with it? If I'm remembering correctly and thinking back, I knew that there was something when I wrote this fundamentally wrong, and I couldn't quite figure out at what point I did myself dirty. At what point did this stop working? Because I have been so far away from this story for so long. It's like a whole fresh set of eyeballs that I have looking at this project. That was not intentional, but I'm actually really glad that it happened because I can see exactly where I went wrong. And it's towards the end. What I need to do is really think about the ending that I want. Since I didn't really write an ending, it was just like, here's the story. Okay, we're gonna just wash our hands of it and be done. I need to really think about what I want this ending to be. I want to see if the ending that I want, that I can pull off, can fit inside the story that I've already written. I am not rewriting this entire thing, but I do think there are going to be several chapters, especially towards the end, that are going to have to be rewritten. And I'm also going to have to add some chapters in here. Even though the story follows a brother and a sister, they are part of a traveling bard group. So there are other people who we follow them very closely. They're not main characters, but they're more, and not necessarily side characters. So I guess they're secondary characters, I think. I did not know how I wanted their storylines to end. This is actually really funny. It's a spoiler, but I'm going to share it with you anyways. So when I was writing this story originally, I killed off one of the side characters or secondary characters or whatever. But as I was reading the story, it's almost like I could remember when I was writing this for the first time because I was not convinced that that was the choice that I wanted to make because I wrote that character back into the story. Yeah, I killed them off and then I brought them back, but it wasn't resurrection trope or anything. It was like I killed the character off, realized my mistake, and then just brought them back for the ending. So I already know how I want to handle that character. And then I had another side character who did a little bit of double crossing, and I did not like that. I did not think that that was, I don't want to say appropriate, because I still think I could pull something like that off, like some type of double cross somewhere in there, but not with the character that I picked. So we'll have to see, maybe there's another character that I've already written that they can do that. They can, steer us in this direction, or if I need to add another character in and sprinkle that new character throughout, the story. I actually think that the romance subplot that I had in here, actually I had two main ones at least. I liked them. And I think that they were well written for a first draft. One of them felt a little too rushed. I think I need a few more scenes with these two characters in there. And I also want to have a few more scenes with that couple, but also with like a group of people too. So I'm going to have to fix that. I like how I had the other romance. I'm not a big romance writer or really reader, but these two romances felt appropriate for the story and I really wanted to write them. Lastly, I don't know if I've ever said this out loud, but this story is a story within a story. So, like The Princess Bride, where the little boy is sick and his grandfather comes over and reads him The Princess Bride. But then throughout the movie, you'll have interjections of the little boy and his grandfather. It's very similar. We get glimpses of that. What I did wrong here is I focused a little too much on the outer story versus like the inner story. The story of the people who are telling the story compared to what's actually happening inside. There were a few points in here where it would be like, the little boy and his granddad were having a conversation, but it like lasted a little too long, or whatever scene I wrote just didn't work with the story. It didn't add anything extra. I'm going to rework some of those scenes, maybe take some out, or be way more intentional about when I have those interjections. It took me about 2 weeks to read through it. It wasn't like the story's fault. I mean, it probably was a little bit of the story, let's just be honest, but I had some personal stuff that was going on. I'm changing jobs, getting stuff squared away for the new job. We have some other things that are happening. So, life is just lifing and it's fine. Before I bid you adieu, let's look at my summer goals and see how we are faring. I wanted to read through take notes and start to replot, rework whatever I could. And I would say I did the read through, I took notes. I am in the sense of I'm thinking about what I'm going to rework, what I'm going to replot, restructure, but I haven't written any of that down besides notes in here. I'm going to cross off those, but I am not going to cross off the one starting to replot or rework. Another thing I want to do this summer is to look up some comp titles and to read more cozy fantasy. I have not read any more cozy fantasy, so maybe that's something we can look forward to doing in the next month. The last goal that I had is the story needs to be beefed up, more character development and stronger world building and magic. So that would be more once I'm actually drafting. So I'm going to keep that there. Although I do think I'm thinking about those things and I'm already trying to just figure out what I can keep, where I can add more character development or more characters, or how I can smooth out some of the world building and the magic. I don't know when you'll get another writing vlog about Project Traveling Bards. I might come back once I find a few comp titles, or maybe if I read a few things. But other than that, I don't think I'm going to circle back to this story for a little bit, because I want to make some progress with my high fantasy and I want to give some attention to my horror, like psychological thriller story. With this video, I hope you enjoyed hearing about my thoughts with my story. Let me know if you have ever read through one of your stories. One good thing that you really liked reading a first draft or a second draft, and something that you felt like you needed to work on. Not necessarily, oh, I need to scrap this, get rid of it all because this is just not working. And more of like, okay, I see what I was trying to do, but I can rework this and make it better. So let me know, one of each. But that is going to be it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here today, and I will see you in the next one.